Let it be known. We're here this morning with Barrington Salmon, the great journalist for the NNPA. We expected to be joined by Cheryl Smith of Texas Metro News and iMessenger Media. We want to pick up on a story that we talked about yesterday. Piper Lewis, the 17-year-old convicted of voluntary manslaughter in the death of a man who drugged, repeatedly raped her, sex trafficked her, and was forced to pay $150,000 to the family of the dead man who trafficked and raped her and did all sorts of disgusting things with her when she was 15 years old. Good news, though, Leland Shiper, a high school math teacher, had started a GoFundMe page. He said that he did not want her to start off a new life, as he called it, with all of this debt hanging over her head, and wanted to give her a chance to go to school and get a good start. The GoFundMe page has now raised about $445,000. The goal was to pay off the $150,000. Well, it certainly has accomplished that. Barrington, this is the good news part of the story. You're on mute, Barrington.
Sorry. Good morning. This is definitely the good news part of the story, and it's illustrative of the reality that when we deal with these types of things, we have to find ways to take care of our own, because this was a little girl, 15 years old, is not an adult, not a woman. She has been brutalized by these men and then brutalized by the so-called criminal justice system. So
absolutely,
I'm really, really glad that that this is happening. And if I can just say real quickly, everything that we're seeing with the continuing murder by police officers of Black people, the irregularities, I call it, of court rulings, and continuing to pull Black and brown and poor and vulnerable people into the justice system. All of this just signals to me the unraveling of quote unquote regular society.
Well, and also, we think about the total lack of care, total lack of disrespect, and of children. You know that old saying, "Children are our future." Well, this shows that people don't care about children. This further underscores that the system don't care about children. I mean, this was a child.
Yeah, but it's yo, if we go large for 1 minute, excuse me, all these Republicans running around, we care of the child, care of the baby, take care of the baby, and then when the baby, when the child is born, they don't care about them. I mean, you look at a place like Mississippi, which is in the news for the government receiving $77 million. The government and Brett Favre, they haven't been charged, but there's texts and everything. These people don't care about anybody. Once you get here, they're like number 45 to number 50 in every social metric, right?
Yeah.
Jackson, Mississippi has been the officials, the public officials have been fighting for years to get these idiots to give them some money to take care of a more than 100-year water system. They haven't done it. I mean, these guys are exposed every time you turn around, man.
Yeah, I'm sure in the coming days we're going to be talking a whole lot more about Brett Favre and that situation.
Yes, we will.
Oh my goodness, Cheryl Smith, is always a privilege to have you. I know Cheryl don't like to be woken up in the morning like this. She don't like it, y'all. But we're talking about Piper Lewis, the young survivor, and we felt what a voice to have than Cheryl Smith. Cheryl, 444,000, almost 445,000 has been raised in the GoFundMe for Piper Lewis. But I wanted to get your take too. You know, the judge, although the math teacher who put together the fundraiser, a great job. The Black press has reached out to him. We are hoping to hear back from him soon. But he made a comment that the judge, he was happy that the judge he felt could have been a lot harsher. I I don't know how this judge can look at that young lady, because judges have wide discretions, and say, you know, based on this sentence, if you step out of line, you're going to get 20 years in prison. I just think it's kind of heartless and gutless on the judge's part, in my view.
Well, you mentioned sentencing guidelines. Good morning, everyone. And I have to say they do have discretion. They do have guidelines as well. But we always seem to see when it's someone who looks like us that the guidelines are pushed to the limit, if you will, especially when you consider the people who are incarcerated across this country, those who are incarcerated who haven't even been to trial yet. We have a problem. That's why the system is so broken. But I keep asking myself over and over again, you know how you see little babies on social media and folks are saying cute, 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 but no one protects the little Black female child. And then at some point in time, that little cute Black boy becomes a monster, becomes a threat, becomes a demon. And we can't say that when someone puts on a robe that those feelings go away also.
Yeah, and you know, she Piper Lewis, she's been 3 years about in juvenile detention waiting for her trial, and which was finally disposed of, and she finally has a measure of freedom. And I say a measure of freedom because all her life she's not been free, right? And so she took to the microphone at the court, and she proclaimed herself that her voice. She proclaimed that her voice mattered, and her voice should matter. That this was somebody who was from birth, basically, right, home to home, passed around like you know, like the trash.
And you want to know what? We people have to be really careful because she is about to be could be the target of abuse even more when you talk about what she will have in terms of dollars in her coffers. There will be vultures, and a lot of them sadly will look like her.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Iowa, in whatever city or district that she's in,
Des Moines. Des Moines.
If they have adequate mental health services and counseling to help her to make her way back from where she's been to where she needs to be. Because as we were saying earlier, they spend all this damn money on putting people in jail, but the things that they need, the things we need, are never there.
And don't forget too, Cheryl, don't, and here's the other little thing, don't forget, not only was she forced to pay, or is being forced to pay $150,000 to her oppressor, her abuser, her tormentor, but
the family,
right, because he's dead, the estate. But the state, the court ordered her to pay $4,000 to court for court costs.
Of course.
She's constantly being abused, and then there are going to be predators waiting could have her ending up in the worst situation because she could end up back in the same situation, and she has to have someone she can trust.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we think that she's not going to be prey to folks, she is. She's a target waiting because folks are looking at, and you know, we can talk about six figures. Six figures is not a lot of money. But
right.
But it's a lot to those predators who will be there acting like they are her friend.
Yeah, absolutely. She got 5 years probation. She also, the one, I guess, good thing other than this fundraiser for her that has turned out to be fantastic, is that her record can be expunged if she successfully completes the probation. They're making her do hundreds of hours of community service as well. Again, this is where I believe, where I see the judge fell short here. He fell well short. He showed no type of nothing for this girl to say you got now do hundreds of hours of community service. Come on, let's face it. I mean, if we keep talking about the discretion he has, she did not commit a crime. She she murdered her accuser. It was self-defense. I could care less that the guy, they said he was sleeping. She could have ran away. They said that's baloney.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because herein again, this is one of the major problems that I have about us here in America, especially, I'm going to say especially Black people, but I'm talking about people of consciousness, the outcry, just like the outcry in terms of dollars raised, there should also be an outcry from legal organizations, from women's rights, from, where are all the people who always want us standing with them?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Who is it that said we have no friends? I think it was John Henry Clark who said that the Black man has no friends. Either him or Malcolm X. One of the two of them said that. And it's true. The black people, the types of allies that we should have, that other people have, a lot of times we don't. A lot of times we stand it alone. That's why it's so distressing to me when we don't stand together as Black people.
If we stand at all, because where are we? But guess what? Let something happen to our child. We don't internalize, and we're going to talk about another story later. What if it were your sister? What if it were your daughter? Well, guess what? Those white folks see a little white girl who does the same thing as their little Karen, Becky, or whatever. They see her. Oh, look at her. But they don't do that when they see us.
But one of the problems too is that the adultification of Black children.
Right.
You have Black children who are 13, 14, 15, and they're treated by police officers, by the system, as if they're adults.
Well, the math teacher,
pervasive.
Yeah, the math teacher, Leland Schreiber, says that as a girl that was ultimately preyed upon by men twice her age who traded her body for drugs, these men physically assaulted, raped, and sex trafficked Piper on multiple occasions. Finally, on June 1st, 2020, Piper, at 15 years old, snapped and killed one of the men who exploited and raped her, stabbing him to death. We all have that in us where it's only so much we can take. And to your point, Cheryl, they expect this young Black girl, 15 years old. Let's face it, 15 is when that happened, right? When this incident happened, in which she finally freed herself from her tormentor. This was going on for years. For years. It wasn't a one-time thing, as the prosecution and the judge will have you believe. Well, they know it wasn't a one-time thing. It's in the court filings that they never disputed. They acknowledged.
The prosecution had discretion as well.
There you go. But started right there.
But you're right, because if I've heard enough times from interviews that I've had that the prosecutors are the most powerful players in the justice system, and they're the ones that decide if a case goes to trial. They're the ones who decide many of the elements of whether or not a person appears before a judge. And what we need to be doing, if we're, rather than sitting down and folding our arms in our nether regions, we need to be finding out if these prosecutors are elected.
Their bosses.
Or their bosses. Run them out of office. Run them out of office.
Well,
and if
listen,
elected, run him out of office too.
Yeah. David Youngblood.
That's the only recourse that we have.
Yeah, David Youngblood makes a point here. He says puberty has been a target on the backs of Black children since 1619, and then there's that.
Yeah.
And then there's that. Yeah. Listen, we're gonna, like I said, that GoFundMe, we're gonna continue to follow Piper Lewis and her travails as things move forward with her. Hopefully, this start right here, the $445,000 so far that they have been able to raise for her. Hopefully, we said at the top, hopefully that reaches $4.5 million and continue. She if anybody needs a start, it's this young lady and the millions of others like her out there. And there's money for everybody, money, and then that money can really lead to the help that she's going to need for most, if not the rest of her life. She's going to need some help. So let's continue to follow that.
Quick thing to say: sex trafficking in the United States is a $32 billion business.
32. Yeah, you mentioned that yesterday. I appreciate that, Barrington. You text that in yesterday.
Yeah, I've been doing the stories. This is something that includes I interviewed a lady in Virginia, and she said that she got threats from police officers, from judges, from politicians who are benefiting from that particular system. So that's a reality that we gotta embrace as well.
Yeah, and finally, the point, we have to have our own system that provides educational resources for her. One of the HBCUs can offer a scholarship for her, fund for her to go to school. There are things that she's going to need in addition to that money. And that's where, when you talk about sororities and fraternities, and sororities here, male groups, this is something we need to take charge of, and we do need to tackle those district attorneys who let cases like this go forward.
Yep. And so as we continue, I'm here in Durham, North Carolina. Barrington's in Washington, D.C., and Cheryl's in Houston, Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas.
Where everything is bigger. and Cheryl, if, everyone should follow the Texas Metro News, because it's the one newspaper, whether it's a Black-owned paper or it's mainstream media, but the one newspaper that continues and has not let up on the Brittney Griner situation. And perhaps President Joe Biden has been
reading her paper,
embellished and reading the Dallas Weekly, and he's been emboldened from reading the Dallas Weekly and News. And Texas Metro News. Look, I'm giving Patrick Washington your credit now, right? Texas Metro News and iMessenger Media. Maybe he's been emboldened with that, and the rail strike, negotiating that for 20 hours. Today, he's meeting with the families of Brittney Griner and Paul Whelan. My question, Cheryl, now the White House says, hey, wait a minute, let's pump the brakes. He's meeting with them. Doesn't mean a deal has been reached.
Right.
Corinne Jean-Pierre said, don't say it's been reached. In fact, Bill Richardson is over there. He's been over there this week. He's been over there for the last few days. He's been negotiating with the Russians, and now he's calling these families to the White House. Cheryl, I mean, it's reason for optimism, isn't it?
Well, there is, because he's been successful before. He has a track record and a relationship, if you will, with Russia. So that helps. And this is not a good look at all, because the silence has been deafening, and it's been, again, I talk about where are we? But if it were our child, you'd have mothers crying and saying no one cares. But this is someone's daughter, wife, friend, and she has represented this country well, and people have done more egregious acts. Now, the thing about it is, when you look at, she got 9 years, and Whelan got, 16 or?
Yes, something like that. Mm-hmm.
And you look at, okay, where are the voices, and who is going to be advocating really strongly for her? Because and her family contacted Richardson.
Her family contacted him. You're right. You're 100%.
You may remember also that when Reverend...
Because the White House doesn't want them involved. The White House doesn't want Richardson involved.
Yeah, it's what the White House doesn't want. The White House doesn't want those piss poor numbers that are coming out because of a lack of activism, if you will, in certain arenas. But they're there. The White House should not want November to turn out how it could possibly turn out if you don't do more to get out the vote. There are a lot of things the White House doesn't want, but there are a lot of things our community. We sit silent too long, and this is just one of many issues, because after we tackle this, her being over there in jail behind bars, we need to tackle all the men and women who are dying in America waiting for trial.
Yeah,
but
that's
my understanding is that this is a tactic that the White House is using, because they've had several people who are like ready to bang the drums, and they said, please don't say anything.
Dennis Rodman, he was going to go over. They said no.
They want to keep it quiet as they negotiate. So it seems like it's a negotiating tactic.
But let me ask you this, though. Here's the thing that concerns me. You're bringing this family to the White House. Now, I'm trying to put myself in there, in Brittney and Paul's shoes, their family's shoes. Is it for optics? If that's the case,
Stacey, they had no. Stacey, they had to have talked to them before.
I'm not going to Washington. I'm not going to the White House.
But they had to have talked to them before, Stacey. I used to be in politics. You don't invite Stacey Brown and Cheryl to come and not tell them why they're coming. Give them updates on what's going on. They must know what's going on.
Yeah, right. But I don't want. But listen, I don't want.
No, Barrington. They could have hope, and hope will make them go there. Now, my understanding is one of the families was going to be there anyway.
That was one caveat there, and so apparently, according to what they are putting out, the president didn't want to meet with one without the other. Maybe he was concerned about those optics, but he should be concerned about bringing these families to Washington. He's already spoken to on the phone. That's enough for me. The only thing you could tell me to get me to Washington at this point is she's on her way home, or she's here.
Stacey, politics, bruh.
I'm not playing politics. That's what I'm saying. You
don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. If you get an invitation from the White House to come there, and you're one of the
I gotta leave the fields to go to the big house, is what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Do what you need to do, because the whole idea is that you're benefiting yourself as well. When you both go to the White House, it's going to be on the news. People are gonna become aware. Those who are not aware are gonna be aware about what the situation is.
But Barrington, your view of that might be the right view.
I'm not saying it's the right view. I'm just saying it's a view.
Let's look at it this way. If I don't go and make us think about it, isn't that going to get me even more press?
Yeah, but here's my question, because a lot of times we're playing checkers when people are playing chess. If you look at what the outcome, because to me at the end of the day, the most important thing is getting Brittney Griner and Paul Whelan home.
Okay,
that's the most important thing. I am so pissed for so many reasons. No,
we don't want to set that time bomb off.
No. Brittney was in Russia because of, I'll use a word that our other guests use, the piss poor salaries that women professionals generally and women professional basketballers make. She was going because this was an opportunity for her to make enough money for her to live comfortably. If she was getting the type of money that the LeBrons and the men were getting, she wouldn't have to be going to Russia, right?
Well, the argument is that the WNBA does not have near the revenue of the NBA.
Because all we got to do is look at this nation's soccer teams. The men's record was shitty, but they were making 3, 4, 10 times more than the women who were winning everything, winning World Cup, winning the Olympics and stuff. So it is just a system that is in place that
it's the American women. It is.
So, it is.
And look at, I was watching WNBA, and I'm going to do even more with them because I'm a woman. And you say that folks love the sport. If you love the sport, and that's something that Deion Sanders said when he talked about, telling people in Mississippi to support the game because it was Mississippi against Texas, I think. And he said, support the game. If you love football, why would you any football game should be of interest to you. Some would even have a good time watching Little League or Pee Wee or whatever if they love the game. But we have to start valuing ourselves more and valuing what we do. And if we did that, like Marcus Mosiah Garvey said, we fall in love with ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing, to go a little off, I'm sure that lots of white people in sports, college athletics, football in particular, are scared to death when they see the increase in interest, the rising interest of HBCUs.
Oh yes.
I'm telling you, if we were smart, we would make sure our children went to HBCUs. It would completely upturn college football, because it's college football is just another plantation system where they exploit our children. Most of them don't end up with a degree, and most of them don't end up in.
And they finally given them some sort of pay, right? Didn't they agree to finally give them
NIL?
some sort of...
NIL is where you get paid for your image, your likeness, and that type of thing. And you have people like Dabo Sweeney from South Carolina, from Clemson, who just signed $130 million 10-year deal, who's been running around saying that he don't think they should get paid. He needs to go to hell.
Yeah, right. How's the coaches? This is probably a whole nother show. But how are these coaches?
It needs
for decades and decades. They like Barrington said, one of the coaches, a 10-year, $130 million deal. You're okay with the coaches, but the kids who put themselves on the line, that kid, that sophomore, that junior, that senior who breaks his leg or something like that, now he has no earning power whatsoever.
But Stacey, I talked to a former football player. He was in college at UCLA. He said he had a teammate who got a bag of groceries because they said the scholarships are so paltry that most of them are going around hungry. He got a bag of food that someone gave him, and they suspended him.
Yes, NCAA.
They suspended him.
Well, see, the interesting thing about even all of that, those that go to other PWIs, predominantly white institutions, they are getting a lot of things that we never even hear about. Mm-hmm. And, and our children are suffering. You say, if we went to HBCUs, which and folks, we have a big classic this weekend, Southern University versus Texas Southern University. And we have some brainwashing to turn around in terms of us, because you have people say, well, college isn't for everyone. And then they'll send a child to a no-name school that you never heard of, but long as it's white, it's right. And it's like, you need to understand. And Dick Gregory said years ago, he said that, you're not buying, you're going to that school, and the influence that you get. The thing about it is that when a Black child goes to, let's say, or any child goes to Texas A&M, the only people that really, really care about him or her going to Texas A&M are Texas A&M folk. But go to Florida A&M, every HBCU in the country, no matter how much we talk about each other, we have that experience of going an HBCU and that love. And it is that influence. That's what you're getting when you go to the school. But you stand a better chance if you get stopped. And Mr. Gregory used the example of getting stopped for a ticket, and how lots of times they see, oh, you went to
school. Yeah.
You can go or whatever. But we need to start leveraging our influence, and we need to start not buying into the DEI to the point that we knock our people out of the box instead of making them be included, because we're trying to make folks see how fair we are. We need to take advantage of that. We need to go to HBCUs. We need to put our money there, and we need to stop being so. I watched the movie White Water. I don't know if you've seen it before, about the little 7-year-old boy that saw his friend drinking out of the white water fountain. And he said the guy looked like he was enjoying it so much. He almost got killed, almost got lynched trying to drink out of that white water fountain. And when he finally did, he realized the water was the same.
Yeah. Listen, before we go, we just got to talk about this for like 2 minutes at
Oh,
least.
that pig DeSantis.
Oh,
Go ahead, Barrington. Take the lead.
That, oh, I'm telling you, I am not going to say the things that I really want to say. He's a he's a pig. He's a coward. He's a bully, and all he's doing is trying to see if he can rile up them people that they call the base. You
yeah.
know, and it's very sadly, it's very unlikely that he's going to lose in November, because Republicans they control most of the levers of power in Florida. But you know, they lied to 50 migrants, Venezuelan and Mexican and Colombian migrants, tell them they'll fly them to Boston. They fly them to Martha's Vineyard because they claim that it's a sanctuary city and they want to own the libs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cheryl, it started.
you have these people that were sent with nothing,
Yeah.
and dropped in Martha's Vineyard, and he's on TV proclaiming, you know, how proud he is that he did that. He's an animal, man.
Cheryl, it started with your governor out there, Abbott, sending the migrants to Washington and New York. I mean, this has been going on. It's almost as if they are out trumping Trump.
Yeah.
Yes. And they have a base. And I contend that, you know, Florida, you know, I think about it because it's really, you know, yes, I have deep roots there. And so I get to hear about Florida a lot. But I'm looking at these southern pocket of states where crazy things could happen. Georgia, you know, crazier things could happen if more people voted in Mississippi. But I just affirm, I say in any given day, and with DeSantis, you know, the effort has to be there, and NMPA has an effort in saying 10 million voters. If we could get the voters, if we could galvanize the troops. But the thing about it is, lots of times when we do programming, we prepare, like someone was talking about get out the vote for this November election, and they were saying, well, we're going to start advertising in the middle of October. No, you need to have but you know, we have such short memories, and you have to really, you need to be advertising every day.
Because they take it for granted, right? They take the black press for granted.
And we take ourselves for granted, and we let others, and you just have to call them out. And sometimes we have to say no to the idiocracy that we have to deal with people who are in positions. And you know, and we could talk, we have all these other shows we could talk about, because when you look at folks who are in DEI positions, and you look on boards across the country, and I just have to tell you, have to give a shout out to my Dallas County Commissioner John Wiley Price, because he was meeting with Nike, was meeting with the Commissioner's Court in Dallas, and they were talking about doing some work, having a workplace here in a suburb of Dallas. Well, it's still Dallas County. And Commissioner Price was asking them about, he said, you don't have any people in executive positions who look like me. And so then he said, you don't even have anybody on your board. And right in the middle of things, he stopped and said, hold on a minute, my phone's ringing. Now, your phone shouldn't be ringing in court and everything, but he picked up the phone, he said a few things. And in a nutshell, he came back and he said, that was a call, just found out that he said that Serena Williams has some free time on her hands. She could serve on their Nike board. And they said the court just erupted. But you got to call these folks out, because then if you look at the boards across the country, if there's a black person on the board, a lot of times that black person is over DEI.
Yeah, DEI, exactly.
Executive. And we have to cut this bull out, because we get some people who are DEI and they look like us and will do nothing to further the cause of us.
Well, I'm going to leave with this, Barrington. You know that old joke about three men going to a bar. So Barrington, Governor Abbott, and Governor DeSantis goes into a bar. What happens, Barrington?
What happens? Somehow, by some quirk of fate, the people who are supposed to be the electors, that they somehow wake up and realize that these bums don't represent them and that they run their backsides out of office.
Barrington Sam is always bringing as Chuck would say, bringing the noise.
We got another noise. I say they go in there, they get drunk out of their heads, and they commit a felony, and then they get booted out of office. The chance of that happening.
But listen,
here's the plan.
Look at all the stuff that their former boss is doing. Look at all the stuff that Trump is doing. And they're saying that they don't think he'll serve a day in jail.
Well, it goes even beyond that. Many believe that he's the next president.
Yeah.
So he believes that. That's for sure.
Rome is burning, bruh. Rome is burning. COVID has exposed all of the garbage that this society.
COVID has exposed a lot of things.
Yeah,
right? Man. A whole lot of things. But we're gonna talk more about that in other shows. But we gotta let you guys run. It's been a fabulous Friday. What a way to kick off our Friday. Thanks for joining. Let it be known, everybody. Have a great weekend. And please check out Cheryl's coverage of Brittney Griner. You don't want to miss it. The only paper in the country, perhaps even in the world, that's covering it on a daily basis. I mean, she doesn't miss a beat. I get the emails with the newsletter and stuff like that. And it's Brittney Griner all day, all news all the time, all Brittney all the time. Thanks for that, Cheryl Smith. Texas Metro News and iMessenger meeting. Don't forget the Garland too, right?
Yes.
So there you go. And Barrington, you can read. Barrington got a great story just this week in the Washington Informer.
A column.
It's a great column on Queen Elizabeth and his love affair with her. No.
Yeah.
Read about it and find out why I put it that way. Read in the Washington Informer, Barrington Sammons column on. You don't want to miss it. It will keep you riveted the whole time from the first word to the last word. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.